Joining us in the hot seat this morning is Kenny Wing, and he is a historian and one of the authors. He and Alan Burnell have written The Lost Villages of Flagstaff Lake, a book that I really enjoy because it's got a lot of pictures in it, too. Yeah. And welcome to the program. Thank you so much for being here,
Thank you. Good morning.
And I know that you have you've been in this area for a very long time. And what motivated you to write the book? Was it you were saying that a lot of information was not correct?
Yeah, well, I grew up on the shore of Flagstaff Lake, still live on the shore of Flagstaff Lake. My father was born and raised in Flagstaff, a fourth generation Wing, and he taught me everything about Flagstaff. And during low water in the fall, we used to drive down to the old village and kick around. So I grew up knowing what house foundation was which house and who lived there and all those stories. And there are a lot of stories and rumors about Flagstaff that are not true. Mm-hmm. That there were holdouts still living in the houses when the lake was flooded, the church steeple is still sticking out of the water, and things like that.
Is that a misnomer?
Every one of them.
Really?
So, yeah. So Alan Burnell was an old classmate of mine in college. He moved to Eustis, he and his wife, and we both worked for Western Maine Explorers up here. And I started telling him some of the wrong things because he'd heard them and said, hey, is this true? And he said, you ought to write a book. And I said, I don't have time to write a book amongst everything else. And he got me to do that. He said, let's do it together. So we did. And my father had lots of pictures. When we started the book, people found out. They started giving us pictures. The Dead River Area Historical Society, which Alan and I are both board members of, the board of directors, gave us a carte blanche to photograph anything we needed and use them in the books. And we told the real story, the right story. So this was the book that put the rumors to bed, told the right story. Why did Wyman build the lake? What was the politics of the time? And it's now, I think, the more definitive, only one of two books ever written about the area of Flagstaff.
Right.
Yeah.
What is some of the highlights that you think of? First off, you could never do anything like that now. Right?
Not probably on that scale without... You know, we've seen the debates on other environmental conditions like wind power and rebuilding of dams and all that. So you probably wouldn't be able to do it to that extent. Yeah. Probably not today. Nor do you really need it, I guess, you know.
And tell us what the purpose was for doing that in the first place?
Well, Walter Wyman was a businessman. He had a big vision, and he did some amazing things, he and his partners. And he had an idea to build a huge dam at the Forks. A huge dam. And the Governor Baxter at the time said no, because it's a lot of environmental damage and we've given away a lot of land already to dams. And eventually, this was in the 1920s, and eventually the plan got changed to building 3 dams, High Risk Dam at Indian Pond, Wyman Dam at Bingham, and Long Falls Dam at Flagstaff. And it was done in piecemeal, starting in the 30s. And they didn't have as much environmental problems as the big, huge dam. And that was signed off in a legislative act in the 20s. And so they built Wyman Dam, named after him, Walter Wyman, in 1933. Then they built the Harris Dam at Indian Pond. And when it came time to build Long Falls Dam, 2 things were happening. It was the 1940s. They were generating all the electricity they needed. They didn't need any more electricity. They had a surplus of electricity. The lake isn't extremely deep like the other lakes were, so the storage isn't there. But they said, we don't need it, so what we're going to do is we're still going to build it because we need hydroelectric storage. We need water storage to let down through the other dams when they need it, and for flood control in the spring on the other dams. So they built the dam with the idea that they could put hydro in it when they eventually needed it. It was ready, sitting there, ready to rock and roll. The environmental damage is done, and all we need to do is put turbines in it. In fact, the road to Long Falls Dam, if you go past the mailboxes on the old Dead River Dam, the road is straight as an arrow and wide, and that was done because that's where the transmission line was going to be, right beside it, if they ever did it. You know, they planned for it, but they just never needed it. They never really needed the hydro. But it's there for flood control, and it's there in case they ever didn't need to do it.
And it's got some awesome stumps.
It does have stumps.
I know they used to use it for fish tanks in China. People used to go out and fish them.
Driftwood businesses that worked out of Flagstaff Lake for years.
Yeah.
That's kind of gone by. The wood's rotting now. But.
Right. So that was a great project. This book is available a lot of different places, and you can take. I would encourage you, if you have some interest in this, to take a look, because the pictures are very captivating, and you just look at it.
And when Alan and I did these pictures, we made sure that they fit 3 criteria. One is we knew who owned the photograph, because it's not right to publish a picture that you don't own or have permission to. We want to know the exact, what it was, what the exact picture that it was showing, and when it was taken.
Right.
So we went through thousands of pictures to get 144 for this book.
Yeah.
And we tried to publish photographs that had never been seen before by the general public. The book is available at many different locations. Alan and I both work here, and we carry these with us, you know, and because once in a while somebody will spot us. Yeah. And we're the ones that sign them. You can only get autographed copies from us.
Absolutely. So say hello to Kenny and get yourself a copy. It's a great historical document of the Flagstaff area, and the misnomers are corrected in here. It's all accurate information, right, passed down from the Wing family and the Wing generation, right?
Well, that and many other families that are still living in the area.
Fantastic. Very exciting stuff. And you can get that book and read up a little bit about it. And you have some questions, like I said, Kenny's right here. You can go and get an autographed copy from both he and Alan. But that's just about going to wrap it up for this edition of the Mountain Report. Kenny, thank you so much for coming here and once again sharing the lost villages of Flagstaff Lake. And we'd love to have you on again and talk some more about some of the things at Flagstaff and your mother's 60 some odd years of weather forecasting as well, right?
Yes, she is in the limelight at times.
She is in the limelight, and she still does it.
She still does every morning, every day.
Yeah.
She gives the reports.
That's great.
89 years old, still doing it.
Good for her.
I know.
Well, you're going to live a long life too, and spread the story of the villages of Flagstaff Lake. Kenny Wing.